You are listening to a Cult Talk Network podcast.
Welcome everyone to Call to Campbell.
Oh,
Monster. Anyway, my monster.
wow.
Boomer juice.
Call to Campbell.
Yay.
I'm Ty.
I'm Eric.
I'm Ben.
And today we are revisiting the man with the screaming brain of all things.
Oh, joy.
Fuck.
But in comic form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Slightly more digestible format.
Slightly more
right.
digestible, yeah. Man with the Screaming Brain, the comic, which is a direct adaptation of the script that we watched. Us three
Right.
sat down and we watched the movie last year around summertime, right? One of the earlier episodes, if I recall.
It was because it was
Yeah.
when we were on kind of a tear where we're like, oh man, we've done like 3 classic movies and rated them not groovy. This is going rough.
I do think that Mainstream Brain, and like looking back on things, this was the first Bruce movie we watched where I was like, oh, these aren't all going to be fun.
No. Oh my. No.
Because even before even before Mainstream Brain, we had watched Maniac Cop with myself, Urs, and Ian, and that was a bad movie, but it was a fucking blast to watch.
Oh, I was.
Mainstream Brain was just bad all around.
Yep.
Yeah,
I was on Maniac Cop too.
Yeah, you were. And that was
Yep.
that was a bad movie.
And we hadn't done Minnows Mind yet,
No,
had
we
we?
hadn't. No,
No.
we hadn't. Menno's Mind was the one that finally broke us, but you're right. This one was like just that shadow looming,
Close.
like, oh boy.
Yeah, this movie
Yeah,
was terrible.
this one came close. It was one of the first. I recall it being the point where I was like, oh man, these might be a little rough at points.
It was the movie that made me hate Ted Raimi.
It was.
It
Yeah.
was, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and that bullshit that made me hate Ted Raimi, that rapping crap, not a scrap of it in this script.
No,
No,
which
there
makes
wasn't.
me think that was that all Ted
So-
ad-libbing?
Yeah, so you know what I said when I read that, when I came across where it should have been? You can ask Eric. I looked right up at him. I said, that only confirms to me that my inclinations to blame Ted Raimi for that bullshit was entirely correct.
He's got evidence to
What day on
support
set
it.
they're shooting, and like Ted just like throws his hand up. He says, "I'd like to rap."
And they're like, fuck it. We're here.
Yeah, fuck
They-
it, we're in
they had
Bulgaria.
better-
We
Yeah.
got
They
shit
had
else
better
to do.
cut some of his like pay contract off for that. Be like, all right, you get more screen time, but you get less actual cash.
I actually think this is something I've seen. I meant to look into it more.
Oh, no.
I actually think he does rap under the name T Money. If I'm
Hang on.
not mistaken.
Oh, my
Alright.
God.
Alright.
Like, hang on.
We don't.
I've seen. I've seen
That's
some
fine.
pictures.
I am perfectly
Hold on.
willing to take Ty's word for it.
Hang on.
Eric's
You don't have to. Listen, just because we started putting a laptop on shit doesn't mean you have to use it all the fucking time. Put it
I
down.
just want to see. Okay. No. Okay. There's.
But I think
not
I have
Ted
not
Raimi.
confirmed.
It's
it.
not?
I believe Ted Raimi had rapped at some point, or was that incorrect?
I
It's
hope
incorrect.
so.
So there was I found someone by that name who's not Ted Raimi.
No.
Good. I mean, whatever. But Christ.
Man.
What a lazy fucking name, too.
You know, I brought up this point just to illustrate that it wasn't in the book, not to make it more of a feature of this fucking episode.
Okay, that might require more investigation, and I don't want to have
We'll
to have
have to-
Michael
we'll have to
cue the
dig into that
investigation
one,
music. Yeah. Well,
Eric is very curious
Oh.
if you're going to hear some Ted.
He
if that
literally-
exists, I will find it.
He literally just spent more time looking that up than Ted Raimi did about his acting in that fucking movie.
Oh man, I mean,
Oh man, on
you know.
Ted already.
yeah.
But
Oh,
Ted, but who? If you guys have the comic, I don't have
Uh-huh.
it from me. Who was our writers on this? Because
okay,
we know that it's still Bruce and David Goodman, right?
right. They have a story by credit.
Yeah.
Pencils
Yeah,
by
and we have some artists who lent their talents.
pencils
and
by
those are the other two names.
Rick Remender. Finishes by Hilary Barta. Colors Michelle Madsen. Letters, because lettering is
A whole
Nate,
different thing.
Nate Pykos. See, there's always one. Nate Pykos.
For Blambot.
Blambot. Background assists by Chris Carmen. Additional inks by Randy Emberlin. And then based on the screenplay credits. So who?
And it's a
wrote it?
Dark Horse publication.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Dark Horse.
Dark Horse. I guess. Dark Horse has been doing shit like this for a while here recently, where they're taking like screenplays that maybe didn't get a fair shake and turn them into comics.
Oh,
That's not
Like
That's
Like,
not a
right
bad
now
way of
they're
doing things.
no.
Like like right now they're doing like they did the original screenplay for Alien.
Ooh, that would have been
did
weird.
one of the screenplays for Alien 3.
Huh?
Like they're taking these movies that the scripts are floating around, never got made, and they're turning them into these graphic novels.
Wow. I wonder how low are they willing to stoop? I've got some stories for them.
No, they're already oh, we could do the screenplay of how I got here. Only they'll actually get there.
Oh.
Oh no. Bleep that title, Mike. Bleep that title. I don't You're gonna get me in trouble.
You're gonna get me in trouble. It's in post. It's in post.
It's in post. It is in post. Yeah, maybe our listeners will get to see it here in a few years.
It's in post.
Just for reference, this was recorded. What day is it?
It's February 2nd.
February 2nd.
February 2nd, 2022. If you're listening to this after that date, it's still in post.
But you know what's not in post? Man with a Screaming Brain.
Man with a Screaming Brain. That made it.
Which got made into a movie by a fucking hook and crook. It got made into a movie, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
later. This movie has a wild fucking journey to being put on screen. Finally, of all things, I mean, one of the things that blows my mind about this, and we're going to talk about it in our next segment. We'll go over the making of and the journey it took to get from Bruce Campbell's brain, or I guess David Goodman, his brain to Bruce to finally getting put on screen is an 18-year journey, 19 years to get finally debut. But
Can you believe
of
that?
all things, to like of all the hills to die on,
I know.
Man with a Screaming Brain,
Yep.
a 19-year journey.
Hey,
There's
listen,
movies out there that the scripts are out that are people call like the best movies that have never been made that can't get produced.
Oh,
Like Ridley Scott has movies, and James Cameron has movies, and all these prominent directors have films that they wanted to get produced, and they never got made over like decades of trying. Bruce Campbell decides, I want to make Man with a Screaming Brain, and he fucking does it.
he fucking does it.
Of all things to fucking dig your claws into, it's Man with a Screaming Brain.
I know.
That's the most bizarre thing of this whole journey, in my opinion.
I mean, people own pugs, so
Your
there are
argument is
people that
just-
love things no matter how much of an abortion they should be.
You're just like people are just weird anyway. Of
They
course.
are.
Well, I mean, they are, but Christ, I don't even know how. Well, I don't even know how to conceptualize spending that much energy onto a thing that you've had to murder so many times that it arguably doesn't even resemble what you wanted in the first place. Like,
Right.
I
wonder if at a certain part it was just cathartic, just to finally have it like
just finally
done.
like
you know what I mean? Just have
yeah.
that off your plate.
you're
you know?
just like
I-
it's
I guess,
done.
but I just wouldn't have it on my plate. I'd be like, listen, I really wanted to do this thing,
Yeah.
and I gave a legit run at trying to get it done. But to get it done, I would have to just corrupt the shit out of it into a thing that I never wanted to make in the first place. So I'll just let it die.
Yeah.
Cancer wins sometimes.
It's been 7 years, David. Do you want to go on for another fucking 8, 9?
No.
I gotta wonder how much of it was, and this is a slight one, David Goodman, because I've learned my lesson from talking about writers.
Chicken shit.
But if you look at his IMDb, this is it.
Is it really?
Like this is it. Like
Oh.
he's worked on he apparently heads up transportation on a lot of movies.
Transportation.
He's a driver. He's a driver.
Oh, okay. So
He was a
So-
driver, like not like a stunt driver. He just like drives people around.
It's too bad he couldn't be head of transportation to get his film someplace other than fucking Bulgaria.
well, shit. There's the story he
I
should
should've
write.
known how that happened.
Yeah, I know. He's got to have some fun. If he's
Yeah.
facilitating, I'm sure he's had to throw in and just drive people around,
Yeah.
being in that at times. I'm
But-
sure he's got some really funny stories doing that.
Oh yeah.
But
He
I
could do
wonder-
that, and he
I
could
wonder how
even
much
have
of
it
was
like
good.
his journey from carting around celebrities to like writing a script. You know what I mean? And then it's like, well, that didn't pan out, did it?
Hell, Patrick Wilson is in this really funny movie called Stretch where he plays a limo driver,
Uh-huh.
something like that.
Oh yeah, and all the
All the
kinda-
crazy antics that he gets into.
Yep.
I don't know. I guess so. Having read the comic book and seeing what the difference is in what probably would have been the original story versus what wound up on screen, I get wanting to tell that story. I just don't get the need to push it through onto film if it's that different.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess.
And
I don't know.
There's aspects, because I have some info on what the original script was and what we eventually saw. And in my opinion, this is just coming from me, I feel like the vision of the final product is a lot more interesting than the originally conceived idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in the next segment.
Okay.
All right.
Then we start talking about the differences. We'll talk about the making of, and we'll just dive right into our revisit of the Man with the Screaming Brain. Ben, what do we do here?
We get to it.
Oh.
Let's get groovy.
Grab your boomstick and fire up the Delta. It's time for ACTION. Join the cult of Campbell. Groovy.
And if you're lucky a little later, I'll let you play with my boomstick.
All right.
Okay.
Man with the Screaming Brain, the comic. I assume this is all three of our first time reading, for the first time on Cult of Campbell, reading
Reading.
Man with the Screaming Brain.
I'll bet.
The
It's
comic.
not-
Some of
it's our first-
listeners didn't
yeah,
know
yeah.
we could read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am shocked. Well, I mainly just looked at the pictures, but I got the gist of it. I
Well, the
watched the
artwork
movie.
is
I watched the
really neat.
movie in the background and listened to the audio while I followed along in the book.
Oh my
Did you really?
God. You survived.
Oh,
Jesus
God.
Christ.
I was like, for fuck's sake.
Ugh.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to deal with all the hassle of reading Man with the Screaming Brain. I just want to listen to the movie.
When
Like,
most
it's kind
people
of a weird
OD, they
ass
just go out and get a
book.
bag of heroin. Ty's
Yeah.
just like, I'm going to read Man with the Screaming Brain while watching it. Goodbye, Cold World.
Which I will say, right off the rip, the comic a lot more enjoyable than the movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It
A
is.
lot more palatable.
Yeah.
It is. It is most definitely more palatable,
Yeah.
at least.
It had everything. Cause the name, I know Eric mentioned this like when we watched the movie for the first time. The name of the movie is like one of those like big exaggerated like leaps off the screen.
Yeah.
Man with the Screaming
Man
Brain.
with the screaming brain.
Right. And
Right.
even like the cover art of the comic of the movie is the cover of the comic book, and like it makes you think like, oh, this is gonna be a fun like cheesy, big ride.
it's
colorful
cheesy.
ride.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's cheesy.
Yeah. But the comic does a much better job of capturing the story.
Yeah.
Well, it gives it a much more Frankenstein-esque vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
in the,
aesthetic really helps
In the
too.
forward of the comic, Bruce mentions, or that they say that one of the key rules they had was they wanted like an old EC horror comic, so like Tales from
Right.
the Crypt, and Tales of Terror, all that kind of stuff. Back in like the 70s and 60s, when those horror comics were big, that's what they wanted it to look like.
Right.
I can see that.
Yeah, and I feel like that was kind of maybe what they were shooting for with the movie, and it just didn't happen because of budget. So
Yeah.
I talked about it earlier. The differences between what we got and what we were going to get with the original idea for the movie.
Yeah.
So the original idea of the movie was to take place in the 80s in East LA with a rich, snooty white banker getting his brain swapped with a Latino street hustler.
Latino street hustler.
That was the original idea for Man with the Screaming Brain.
Like brain swapped or like what we got, where it's half and half.
I think similar to what we got. I don't know. I don't know I don't really know if it would have involved a scientist or what.
Well,
mean,
I would say it would have to.
or some kind of like brain surgeon. I don't think it would have been like the scientist we get in the movie, because I do actually enjoy that a lot better. I enjoy like this like it's more true to the concept, because the movie is this like Frankenstein-esque
Right.
story with a
Oh yeah.
odd
Heavy on the
couple,
Frankenstein.
twist to it. And I
Yeah.
feel like the Bulgarian setting, that Eastern European setting, made a lot more sense than 80s
LA? I don't
I feel
know.
like.
I think it would have if Bulgaria matched what we saw in the comics,
Right.
Yeah.
but that is not.
Yeah.
That's not what we
Not
got.
the Bulgaria we got.
Not even
no.
close.
Yeah. Well, one thing I think that does help with the comics big time is just like the overall aesthetic. And I'm just flipping through the pages. I notice it's just always like there's a lot of greens in there, which is like what's on the movie poster. I was just looking at like So they just were able to do stuff aesthetically in the comic that I just don't think that they were able to do in the sea of beige that was Bulgaria. So
Right.
Yeah,
the
because like
mood
every
really-
vehicle was the same
Yeah.
color, every building was the same color.
It took me so long to understand what the movie was trying to be. You know what I mean? Like,
and even the color filters seemed like they were very flat.
I don't know that they really even used any.
I
You
bet
know what
they-
I mean?
I don't
to
think
be
they did.
honest,
Maybe they didn't,
Yeah,
but
I think so. I think you picked up on that.
Because
'Cause-
one of the few things I really enjoyed about them, or not I say really enjoyed, but one of the few things I did enjoy about the movie was the scenes we got with Pavel and Doctor what's his name, the
Oh,
mad scientist.
Is it?
Just
I,
because
I've,
Ivan Ivanov or whatever.
yeah, those like one of the few things I kind of enjoyed from the movie because I feel like that was the closest they got to the vision with like the mad scientist and the beakers and all
it
that
is
stuff.
as close as they got. That's for sure.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but even the doctor and the assistant, they
It
make
wasn't-
so much
yeah.
more sense in the
Yeah.
comic than they do
Right.
in the movie.
Yeah, they look a lot.
Lot like what you
I
would
like their
think.
look a lot better. in the
Yeah,
comic.
and
yeah.
the
I'm
fact
pretty
that the
sure those
assistant
scenes were
is
cut.
so much younger in the comics compared to what Ted was in the movie, it makes him seem immature, not retarded. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like those mad scientist scenes were shot later. I feel like I'm pretty sure they were shot in the U.S. Those were because they have
well,
Stacy Keach as the mad scientist, Dr. Ivar,
uh-huh.
and it's so I doubt they flew him to Bulgaria. It's like at
You
that
know-
point, I think this is like one of his last movies. I'm pretty sure.
Oh
And at
Jesus.
that point, he was like a washed up, former actor. And
Right.
I think the only reason I got him in there was just to have like
He-
another name.
Yeah.
So he doesn't even like play the Bulgarian mad scientist that well. Like it's much better in the comic because you don't have the acting hurdles to get over. It's just you see what you got there on the page,
Right.
and the scientist looks a lot better too because he looks like one of those decrepit old crazy ass scientists.
Yeah. Exactly. Like he's very you immediately know looking at him in the comic this is a mad scientist.
Right.
It takes them in the they just had I don't think we're able to get the look that they wanted.
No, 'cause, I mean, even like his lab and everything just looks so much cooler in the comic.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
but some of this you could have avoided in the movie, man. First of all, like
Mhm.
trim down, like if
Yeah.
in your lab you don't have access to all this technical stuff, okay, then you can help by leaving some of it slightly off screen and not just cluttering your lab with like fake looking shit. And also don't fill in your time in the lab with your idiot sidekick doing some rapping
Yeah.
thing with a robot. Like
Yeah.
like I don't care how many rewrites you needed to do and stuff. Like there's stuff you could have done for this film that would have helped.
They just should have gone with they should have gone more with that. They should have somehow found a way to stick with their industrial look that they kind of end up. You know what I mean? It's a little more industrial-y looking and stuff in the comic book.
Something.
They weren't able to do that in Bulgaria because of budget stuff. I'd have just said, you know what? What's another fucking 18 years then to get it right? Like, especially at that
Yeah.
point, I'd say, you know
So-
what? Let's sleep on it for a decade. Come back to it later.
So speaking of like the journey, so
yes.
this originally is written by Bruce and David Goodman.
Yep.
But also you have a story credit from Rock Sandstorm.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
a real name.
No,
Right.
that's Sam Raimi.
fuck.
Okay.
Is it really?
As Rock Sandstorm, which bizarrely enough is the same pen name that Bruce uses in this movie called The Nut House.
Oh, so they just
Which is the movie that like Ivan, Sam, and Bruce wrote that they disowned. It's this 1992 like romantic comedy called The Nut House. It's super hard to find. But
Why did they disown it?
I guess it turned out so bad they didn't want anything to do with it. So
What?
they all
Wow.
took fake names.
So- He didn't disown Man with a Screaming Brain. He didn't disown Minnow's Mind, but we got to get this.
I'm trying to find it right now.
Sam
I
Sam
found,
did.
Like, I
Sam
found like
didn't want
big
to put his
chunks
name
of it
on
on YouTube. But I have
I-
no idea.
I
I
am
love how
now curious. A movie that's so bad that Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi disowned it. That's
I am
interesting.
too. I am very curious.
That at least
But
has me.
Bruce takes the name of ROC Sandstorm in that movie. So this is a
Oh,
name I guess
Jesus.
they
It's so funny that
kinda
they
in
share a pen name for their
Yeah.
shame.
They share a lot. Apparently.
So when
do.
this movie was originally conceived in the 80s, David and Bruce, their idea was they were going to make this on $870,000. That was the budget they wanted to shoot this in L.A. This was without the whole like going overseas and stuff. They were going to shoot it in L.A. They were going to shoot it cheap, and they decided they were going to try to raise the money in a similar fashion how they did with Evil Dead. They were just going to go to Detroit, which these are Michigan guys. That's where all the Raimi family, they're all from Detroit.
Right.
So
right. Yeah.
they were going to go to Detroit, and they were going to get with various investors and people who claim to be venture capitalists, and they were going to just raise money like they did with Evil Dead. For whatever reason, no one was interested.
For whatever reason.
Well, you have to think, like, I figured people would be a little more interested because, like, this is Bruce Campbell, and at this point, this is like 86.
Tyler, don't be.
So he's had Evil Dead out. I mean, like, Evil Dead was a success. Like,
right. That should be your cue.
But
that is the clue right there. You have this success, so there's no reason why people should be turning down your next script unless it sucks.
I guess, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And I honestly think like they should make a movie about the man screen break.
So that would probably be
interesting.
That would probably be better.
I would love
watching the interviews and stuff. Like there's a video on YouTube. It's called Neurology, I think is what he calls it. But it's just like 15-minute long video of Bruce and David in front of a blackboard, and they just kind of like take you through the 3 decades that it took to get this, from the 80s, 90s, and then 2000s.
Jesus. Oh my god!
And so they go through that, and like he talked about some like crazy characters they ran into, like having guns pulled on them.
What the fuck?
See, I would much rather watch that than the actual fucking movie.
I can't agree with that.
That's a no-brainer in my opinion.
I know.
So they tried the whole 80s, and Bruce is working pretty steadily at this point. This is Evil Dead 2, Maniac Cop, whatever else we reviewed from like 80s, because 89 was like a big year for him.
Yeah.
So he's like getting his name out there as this like cult B horror movie guy, and the whole time he's trying to get this going. Well, he gets divorced. Amongst all this, he divorces his first wife, and that prompts him and David to get out of Detroit and take this movie to Hollywood.
Oh, wow. There we go. Hashtag
they
big
start
moves.
pitching it around to the big boys, and they're not going after these venture capitalists and
for
these
some
small
reason.
fish. Now they're going after the big fish.
Yeah.
Because you know why? Because somewhere in those divorce proceedings, right as she was getting ready to walk out the door, she couldn't resist herself. She turned around and said, "That fucking movie that you're spending so much time on, you ain't never gonna get that made, motherfucker." Just turned around and walked away, and he's like, "Well,
I gotta get it done."
Yep, she's got to make her eat a chunk of shit now. We're going to Bulgaria, boys.
So they basically go to every studio in Hollywood. Sony, New Line, 21st Century Fox, a bunch of studios that don't exist anymore. And finally they get turned at all the no's, and the movie dies for a couple of years.
Good for them.
It goes dormant for a few years.
I appreciate when you try to kill a monster. You can't always do it permanently. Sometimes they come back, but
sometimes you
that's
fire.
until Bruce does a movie in 1992 for Fangoria magazine. In the early 90s, Fangoria, this is like bread and butter stuff. Like I really don't understand why this wasn't a thing that lasted longer. Fangoria decided they wanted to do their own movies. Fangoria is the horror magazine.
Yeah, I remember reading Fangoria in the mid 90s.
The first time I discovered Fangoria, it was like this was before the internet. I could go on like websites shit. I find Fangoria and it's this magazine of just like monster and horror shit. It blew my mind.
Right. Yeah, I remember having that reaction as well.
This is my Sports Illustrated. So that was a big deal for me when I found Fangoria. And for a while they produced movies. Not a whole lot notable, but in 1992 they hooked up with Bruce and they did a movie called Mind Warp, which is it's on our slate for Culttober. Spoiler.
Oh.
And this actually one of the movies that I'm like really really looking forward to watching because it looks really interesting. And coincidentally enough, this is the movie where he would meet his now the wife that he's married to now. She was a set designer.
Can you give us
or a seamstress, one of the two, and they've been married since '92. So
wow, she's been with him through this whole journey.
Ty, I would just like to point out that the cult does not have a good relationship with movies that have the word mind in it.
It does not.
No.
But from what I've seen of this movie, I watched the trailer and stuff like that. It looks pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And
give us a teaser.
Yeah, what's it about?
It's I'm trying to think what it's about. It's got mutants in it. It's got zombies. It's time travel. It's virtual reality.
Oh my God, no.
But there's a lot of shit. It looked
It's gonna be
interesting.
bonkers.
It looked post-apocalyptic stuff in it. Like there's like one of the still
Man,
shots
it
to
sounds
see,
like my
Bruce
mind's
with a
gonna be
rifle.
warped.
Mo-
Whoa.
Bruce with a rifle and like pelts and stuff. So there's like a post-apocalyptic aspect to it.
Listen, movies are not sandwiches. They don't get better by just piling more shit in them. Oh my
Clearly.
God! What the fuck
Clearly
is this
has-
movie you're talking
we'll have
about?
to-
Hey.
I'm a fan of Super Mario Brothers movies, so I know that's not true. Then movies do in fact get better the more stuff you throw.
Oh,
Like a stew,
Mm.
like a nice stew.
like a turtle stew, turtle mushroom stew, turtle
But anyways.
mushroom dinosaur,
He
plumber
does. He
stew.
does mind warp with Fangoria, and Fangoria, like they're wanting to do movies. They're wanting to try to do like 2 or 3 a year. Is like their kind of plan. But
So they're like,
to me, it just makes so much sense when the have Fangoria on things. And I know they only did a handful, and like they were never that well received. Like they weren't just like
yeah,
because I think probably they just promoted it through the magazine, and that's probably the only place it had appeal.
they were like, we've
broad
got
appeal,
enough of a following.
Yeah,
Not enough for a movie.
Yeah,
So they didn't make huge off these movies, but it just to me sounds like a great idea. But Bruce pitched to them; they were interested.
Yep.
Just like everything else, there's interest, and then it just kind of fizzled out. It was like a year and a half of them like getting we'll start doing this here, this there, and then it eventually just died. Like all contact ceased.
yeah.
Right after this, they end up hooking up with a company called IRS and Transatlantic Entertainment.
I mean, sure.
They hook up with this company.
Uh-huh.
Sounds like it operates in the basement of somebody's pool hall.
Right. Well, they actually get pretty far with this movie. This company. They go as far as they bring Bruce in. They put makeup on him. Like do the whole scar head thing. They design a logo. They shoot an advertisement. They put out in the trade magazines. Man Scream Brain. That's what's the big one out? Variety, the magazine out in Hollywood. Where,
Oh, they
studios
made
will announce,
Variety
like,
magazine.
hey, I don't know if it was in Variety. It was in one of the trades. So I assume there's multiple trades. I bet there's I guarantee there's small versions of Variety out there.
Oh yeah,
But they made an advertisement they put out. It was coming soon from IRS and Transatlantic Entertainment. Had a logo, Bruce's name on it, a studio image they made of him with a scar head and stuff. Had a makeup artist come into it. So it got further than it ever had. They put out an article saying, cult movie icon Bruce Campbell starring Mainstream Brain with a budget of $3 million. Hyped it up. And they tweaked the script a little bit for this. The company did put their hand in it. They tweaked it a little bit to where it was no longer a white uptight banker with a Latino street hustler's brain. It's now a white uptight banker with an African American pimp's brain.
Oh,
That was the change.
that was the Yep. Okay.
I'd watch that.
Because apparently there was some concern with the minority aspect of it.
Uh-huh.
But when they worked with Fangoria was very uncomfortable with the whole Latino street hustler thing.
Okay.
Unless they had more minorities than white people, because then you can make fun of minorities. That was the mindset.
Well, yeah, then they're no longer the minority. They're
Right.
the majority.
Exactly that's the mindset. So if you pack the movie full of minorities and you make fun of minorities, they're not the majority, so it's okay.
You have to appreciate the straight math of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're like, what? 1 + 1 = 2, and you're like, well, yes, it does. But we're not really talking about math there, studio.
Yeah.
And in the same fashion as it happened before, the movie just kind of fizzled away, just kind of floated away. After all this, they got further than they ever had. They
just
felt really good about it.
advertised
and
it and just dropped it.
Because they all got to the same point where they're getting ready to storyboard this shit, and they all look at each other and they're like, so we all agree this story sucks, right? And they're like, yeah.
Man.
Do you guys want to keep doing this? No. Actors, do you guys want to be in this? Not really. Why are we doing this for?
So at this point, that's like 93, 94-ish, because a year and a half after Fangoria, which would have been 92. So it's 94. So at this point, they're at what, 8 years into the Triangle Flame made.
Yeah, that sounds correct.
And they've had nothing but bad luck so far. The budget somehow got inflated from 870,000 to $3 million.
Jeez, this is like the Baltic Fleet of movie making.
No, because they like the Baltic Fleet failed. This movie succeeded. They're so goddamn lucky. The last time God tried this hard to keep something from happening, there was a flood.
The Baltic Fleet made it to its destination.
It did. That was not the mission.
It made it somewhere, which I guess similar.
I don't think this movie
made it
was
somewhere.
the mission either.
No, yeah, I'd consider, this would be the same. Like, it made it somewhere.
Yeah.
You guys are using the Baltic Fleet as your defense of this movie. Fuck off, the both of you.
I will not let it be known. I am not, and forgive me if I have given the impression that I am in some way defending this movie. No.
Well, you're like, yeah, but the Baltic Fleet did good.
I'm just making the point that.
Which, by the way, if you haven't seen our Cult Talks Weird Shit episode on the Baltic Fleet, go check that out.
Yeah, check it out. You'll see why that's a good metaphor.
Understand the comparison.
Yeah.
We're going to get a lot of hate on this episode.
That's fine.
Now, I think this is a very informative episode. I think we'll get good feedback on this. This is very informative. This is very different than
feedback.
Campbell.
Listen, yeah, it's because.
So the next stop is a pretty prominent one. Are you guys familiar with Roger Corman?
I am the name, certainly.
It kind of rings a bell.
Yeah, I was going to say, but I can't place it.
Tasteless swine.
Oh my God. Wow.
Roger Corman is like, he's one of the most prolific B-movie filmmakers of all time.
For fuck's sake.
I mean, he's where James Cameron got his start.
Okay. Well,
various others. I don't know. Stallone got his start there. A lot of people start out in Roger Corman movies.
Listen,
Roger
dropped
Corman,
out before I made it that far in film history class.
He started making movies in 1954, and he's still making shit today. He bangs out movies. Never lost money on a movie.
That's not good.
Never lost.
Them so cheap, never loses money. He makes them, puts them out. They turn around the money real quick. That's him. He was in he's pretty. I'm surprised you guys don't know Roger Corman. The man who brought us such movies as The Wasp Women.
Oh,
no?
Of course.
No.
No. Oh, yeah. No.
No. All right. What about Piranha? You've seen Piranha?
The original?
Yeah, the original Piranha.
The original Piranha.
Okay, that's a pretty good B movie. I like that.
There you go.
Okay. Makes sense.
I guess he remade Carnosaur.
Ooh, Carnosaur is a bad classic. Okay.
1, 2, and 3.
Okay, I only saw the first one. I never.
Oh man, those are good movies.
Carnosaur is a weird goddamn movie.
Carnosaur 2 is good. Carnosaur 3 is not bad, but Carnosaur 2 is really interesting. It's just an aliens ripoff with dinosaurs, like beat for beat aliens ripoff, just like dinosaurs. It's super fun. But so
God,
they get
he
with
really
Roger
is
Corman
known for this.
because Roger Corman doesn't really say. I mean, he does everything. Like that's kind of his thing. Is you bring him studios would do that in the 80s and 90s when he really because he makes this stuff since the 50s. So around the 80s and 90s, people start realizing like this guy's ability to take something and just make money off of it. Like, that's what he would do. He would just take something and he would make money. That's just what he did.
Sounds like my version of the Antichrist.
Dino Shark.
Sharktopus. One of the big things.
Stop.
Those movies were great. He did like 4 movies.
Piranhaconda.
Yeah, Piranhaconda, Sharktopus versus Werewolf. Anybody?
Attack of the 50-foot cheerleader.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay. All right. I'm closing out of this shit. Wow. Holy shit.
Sharktopus versus Terracuda.
No.
This guy does it all.
He does it all. Holy crap. He's the prostitute of directors.
He's a genius. There's a movie that came out in like 2001 called Raptor that he made a lot of money off of because all it was this is the whole movie. He took Carnosaur 1, 2, and 3, took scenes from those 3 movies, cut them together, had Eric Roberts come in, do little pieces of dialogue to cut them together, and that was it. Cost him like a few grand, and sold it to Blockbuster and made a shit ton of money of it. Because all it was recycled footage. From
I feel like that should borderline be illegal. It's not.
He's in the early 90s. He was.
That's enough for me to change and say he's not a shit director. He's a thief.
He started. He was the first guy to ever attempt to make the Fantastic Four. Remember, like the '90s live action everyone talks about. That was him because the studios knew like he could take something for cheap.
No, recycling footage like that and then claiming that it's something new.
He really is just like I will make you a profit.
Yeah,
that was his thing. Like
that's a thief.
Give him something and he would turn a profit on it.
Nah, fuck this guy.
So Bruce went to him and pitched it to him, and he, for whatever reason, showed no interest in it. So,
Oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
what more do you
Wow.
need for this to not be made when that guy says, nah?
yeah,
I don't understand why.
he apparently was not interested at all. He apparently kept getting the runaround from Roger Corman. You know, Roger would give him I'll read it tomorrow kind of thing. And then it just ceased. Just no.
Just petered out again.
Yep, just none. Just nothing.
And
then the movie went to sleep again. It went for its slumber
went to nappy time.
until the Millennium Dawn.
The Sleeping Beauty.
And then this is where we finally get traction. This is finally where we get traction. Early 2000s. This little indie film group called Creative Light came to him, wanted to do it. And for whatever reason, Creative Light, from what I looked at, they really done nothing. They were interested, I imagine, just for the prospect of working with Bruce. Because I think at this time, he's around like the early 2000s, late 90s. I think he's like finally becoming the cult icon that he is. He's not just a guy. He's like, people are like, oh, this is Ash Williams. I think that's when he starts to get like the nerd.
And he's like appearing in
love.
TV shows and shit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
TV
Telecast and
shows.
stuff's
Yeah,
hot right there.
Yeah.
This Creative Light, they decide they want to try to make it. And at the same time, for whatever reason, and it's something that I couldn't find any information, for whatever reason, Sony Pictures just like, oh, we want to do that movie that you pitched us in the 80s. Out of nowhere. Like, just, that's the way Bruce puts it, too. Like, out of nowhere, Sony's like, oh, that movie you pitched us in the 80s. Yeah, we kind of want to do that now. So, it gets really far with Sony to where, like, they were having, like, meetings on a weekly basis.
Did they drop the other guy when Sony contacted them?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Oh, man.
They're having, like, meetings at Sony on a weekly basis, monthly basis, whatever. Lawyers are calling them. Their lawyers are calling Sony back to back. You know, things getting faxed around, phone calls being made, documents getting signed, the whole shebang. You know, Bruce and David, I'm sure at this point are like, you know, probably got the bottle of champagne. They're probably to pop the cork or whatever. And then Sony calls them and says, "Nah, actually, we're not interested." Because what happened was some underling studio executive who was just a huge nerd for Bruce Campbell heard about it, wanted to get it made, and then one of the bigger executives was like, "Well, we spent all this time on this this movie. I don't want to do that," and then put it into it all.
Oh, this.
So, yeah,
woof.
It was some studio execs like, you know, passion project or whatever. Then once the higher ups learned about it, they were like, "We're not doing this.
Oh.
We have bigger fish to fry."
Oh my God.
So once again,
it's shelved.
It's shelved again. But this isn't happening for long because Creative Light, they come back in the story here later. But first, what happens is in 2002, this is another Cultober spoiler.
Oh.
In 2002, Bruce Campbell does a movie for Sci-Fi called Terminal Invasion.
Well,
which is a really good movie. I'm really excited. I haven't watched it since I was young. When I was a kid, I loved this movie. I haven't seen it since, but
Terminal
you know
Invasion.
how that goes. He does this movie called Terminal Invasion. Sci-Fi just kind of drops on a Saturday. No promotion whatsoever, no marketing. They just kind of make it, drop it, and it breaks records for Sci-Fi Channel.
Wow.
Becomes a huge hit. They play it all the time. Big deal. And no marketing whatsoever. Just purely off power of Bruce. This movie does like record numbers for them.
Wow.
Which, of course, piques their interest.
That's crazy.
Piques their interest, and they say, you know, well, Bruce, let's do business. And he pitches them the Man Screaming Brain.
I got a movie for you guys.
Yeah, he pitches them. I'm pretty sure they pitched Man Screaming Brain and Alien Apocalypse, because I'm pretty certain they shot those movies back to back.
But Bruce was Alien Apocalypse Bruce's project?
It was him and that one guy that wrote He-Man, Xena and shit.
Oh, I didn't realize
that was
Bruce had creative input on that
he's
too.
Bruce on it.
Huh. Wow.
So that was
maybe Bruce is just not a good writer.
Maybe not in those times.
I mean,
I think Apocalypse got a certified groovy, so I think that's
right. I was not part of that show. I wasn't. So
we rate the Bruce, not the movie.
Your hands up. You're like, you can't put any blame on me.
No, absolutely not.
Ben abstains.
I didn't step in that shit, nor did I handle it.
Yep.
I got no stink on me.
We need to find a reasons for Ben to watch Alien Apocalypse.
Why? You?
That's subjective. You don't know.
I mean, yeah, I'd really like to say no. Boy, howdy, I'd be most appreciative if you'd right. Kindly fuck
I
off
guess,
with that.
Eric is right. I'm like the Sam Raimi of our group. I just like to torture
You like to
guys. I
torture
poke and prod, and
people. You
I
do.
put you guys in these situations where you gotta slip around in goo and get slapped in the face and stuff. Like
It's half of the joy in it for you is just like,
it is.
what
It
can I
is.
put
I love
people
like
through?
finding
You
a movie and be
relate.
like, hey, I want to make sure Eric's in this episode, or oh, let's make sure Ben's on that episode. And
Yeah.
you got to know when I say that. You got to know like, oh shit.
We know.
Oh yeah, no,
It was never a secret.
Listen, yeah, no, we will. We'll get a notification. Ty will say like, oh, and I want to make sure that so and so is on this, and everyone on that list is just like, oh fuck.
Although
Now what?
I will give you some slack. There's no way you could have foreseen me and Ursa getting into an argument on Congo.
Oh my god.
Over fucking
What was it?
flights or whatever. I was like, of all the things we're arguing about flights.
Hey, you
Flights.
just be noted, you sided with me at the end of that.
I think
I sided with you on that one.
But yeah, usually if you're the one stacking the guest card, it's for some fuckery.
Well, that was a gift to you. That was a good one for you, though. That's why I said like I want Ben on Congo because I know you enjoy watching Congo. So
I think I
it's not all bad.
suggested. I love Congo.
Yeah, it's not
That's
all bad.
probably why I fought about it. Son of a bitch. People really probably do think me and Ursa hate each other, but we literally don't argue about anything else.
I love you
Oh
guys.
yeah,
It's so
it was
funny
all
when
good
you
fun,
guys
too.
start debating.
If
Jesus.
we didn't like each other, that would have been like a big deal.
No.
Yeah.
We
Like,
got to argue and then back to talking shit. And
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
the Sci-Fi Channel says was Bruce got he gives them in Apocalypse and then Mainstream Brain's part of the deal. So the deal they work here, Sci-Fi is like they know this movie is going to be a little more expensive just because it's Bruce and they got to take over Bulgaria, which I don't think it'd be that much more expensive than our usual movies.
More expensive
whatever
than
reason,
Alien
they have
fucking
to work.
Apocalypse?
They have to work on a deal. Well, I think probably it's a marketing thing for like Alien Apocalypse. I feel is an easy sell for the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah.
Especially the way they marketed it, because if you look at the posters, it looks like Army of Darkness, but with aliens. So that's what they marketed.
But I mean,
with this, it's this like subversive body horror, psychological slapstick comedy thing. I don't, it's probably a lot harder to market.
Not about covers
so it was probably a little more risky.
Yeah.
So they work on a deal with Sci-Fi. So the deal is,
Boys,
Sci-Fi is going to put a portion of the budget. They're going to put a portion of the budget. I don't know the statistics, but they're going to put a portion of the budget, and then they are going to get the rest of the money from an Eastern European tax shelter.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
that's nothing wrong with that.
So from 1986 to 2004, the movie finally starts production in Sofia, Bulgaria, with a slight change to the script to fit the Eastern European setting.
Because they couldn't make it look like LA.
Well, at least that explains the slight sprinkling of the capitalism versus communism thing that was in for all of 5 seconds.
Sputters home.
Oh my God.
Bulgarian sparks Ty's dream of one day visiting there and making 6 or 12 low budget films. Is Ty still
That's
there?
what started.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
No, I like the moment of silence we all observed for that idea.
I'm like, oh God, did we lose him? Holy shit. Was that?
So, all right,
like,
let's
that's
get
all I
into
have to
what
say
is
about
what
that.
is better about this than that goddamn abortion.
Well,
Oh, wait, we haven't even gotten to the fucking movie being made yet.
Yeah. So the movie finally debuts on April 3rd, 2005, 19 years after being conceived. It was shot on an estimated budget of $2 to $3 million, and it does surprisingly well on Sci-Fi. So
Imagine what we could do with $2 million.
I know. Oh, I would love a $2 million budget.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Make a Wendigo film as well. Goddamn it.
Ooh.
that's it. That's Mainstream Brain, and then
the journey to its making.
And the movie came out. It didn't quite meet its the vision that Bruce had. A lot of it was creative and budgetary concerns.
Yeah.
He was able to go to Dark Horse Comics. And we don't have any information on how this all came to be with Dark Horse, but Dark Horse did agree to take the script. They got artists, and they've made this very nice 4-issue comic series to give Bruce the vision they wanted. And Bruce even refers to this comic as the director's cut.
Right.
It's a lot truer to the vision.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that
For
having
sure.
read it, like absolutely.
Yeah, like look at that shot. There's nothing even remotely approaching
Oh
this
yeah.
type of look right here.
Oh yeah, no, we're looking at the
The scene
page
where-
with the panels with his brain getting operated on.
Yep,
you
where
know.
he's literally
yeah.
putting the new parts of brain in, and it just looks so
Crazy
much
machines,
better.
and equations on chalkboards and stuff in the background. And yeah, it's just put together better. Like their restaurant looked like a warehouse with fold-out chairs.
I think
You know
that
what
was
I
all
mean?
the
Like,
same. I think the
it's-
lab, the restaurant, and
Yeah.
everything else was just the same set. That restaurant was pathetic.
Like at that point, why even go to bulk? Why not just like rent out a music hall or
Bulgaria,
something?
I mean, I think Bulgaria was like part of that tax shelter deal. That's
That's
Sci-Fi
right.
shoots a lot of stuff in Bulgaria. That's one of their kind of staples. I think Bulgaria has probably a pretty good like tax break and stuff.
Oh, I see.
My thing is
that's what it's all about. Like anytime people talk about, like, oh, well, they shoot movies in New York, if it's set in New York.
well, that's
or whatever,
fine.
because a lot of these places they want you to come and shoot movies there. Like
Right.
they want like the traffic and the business that comes with it, and that's why like Georgia's really good about making movies because they have like tax shelters and stuff for filmmakers.
Give them tax breaks and things like that.
And there's big deals like we know with the Swamp Thing TV series, the first season of that, huge hit, had to get canceled because they originally shot it in, I believe, North Carolina, who promised them all these tax breaks. They built a soundstage in North Carolina. They shoot the first season, and then when it comes time to get the tax breaks, North Carolina, I don't know if it's North Carolina, whatever state they shot in, was like, oh, we can't provide that. So it fucked up the whole budget, and that's why that first season of Swamp Thing, that's why no one thought there was going to be a second season until, whatever they've done, the second season got greenlit recently. But
I was going to say, did they finally do a second season? Because that seemed like a real shame.
I watched the first season. It was fantastic.
See, I need to watch it because I really liked the old 90s Swamp Thing, and it looked good.
Right.
But see, that's these things like, that fucked up the whole, that killed a series, a successful series. It killed a whole series just because at the end of the day, they had built their budget around like, we're getting these tax breaks.
Yeah.
So that's not going to affect us. And then
totally
comes down
backfired.
like, oh, we can't do that. So
Yeah.
But Bulgaria has some kind of deal where, if you look at Sofia, Bulgaria, because you can on IMDb you can like find like locations, and you can like look and it'll show you movies there. Sofia, Bulgaria has a lot of traffic being made there. A lot of big movies, not just like shitty low budget movies, but like the Expendable series and a lot of action movies get shot in Bulgaria.
So they
Because I'm
still will
assuming
go
they have a
there.
really good tax,
Yeah.
really good tax shelter there. So
They'll still go there to cut down on costs.
yeah, which I'm sure we're all going to learn pretty heavily about the tax shelters in Bulgaria, and we'll all be adverse to that, so we know what to expect. When we
Of
go.
course, yes,
Yeah.
naturally.
No, but that doesn't even solve the problem of like the restaurants. See, like we come up with everybody's like, oh yeah, but it's got this explanation, that explanation. Okay, but if you get to making your movie and you set up your restaurant and it looks that shitty, why would you not just change the set piece to something you can pull off more convincingly?
Oh yeah. If
Yeah.
you're already changing the story to adapt it to your location,
For real.
or
Like-
have just like you could have just gone to like rent out like a music hall or a gymnasium or something like that at that point.
Or you tell
just in your backyard.
you couldn't do anything besides the plastic fold-out table and a couple of things of Olive Garden salad. Like I don't
No,
understand.
that's bad.
I mean,
Yeah,
don't get me wrong. It's a
translates a lot
19-year
better to
journey. I
comic.
can't.
It does. Well, everything
I
in the
can't
comic
throw
book looks
stones,
better. I
but-
mean, there's just no two ways about it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, why don't we talk more about that in our next segment? Let's talk about the quality of Campbell.
Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
And we're back with the quality of Campbell on our revisit of Man with the Extreme Brain in comic form.
Comic form. This
Comic
time.
form.
Yes.
And we're still going to talk about the quality of Campbell because this has all the same makings of the movie, except for not Bruce physically being in front of us.
Oh yeah.
But this is still the Bruce Campbell conceived story of the Man with the Extreme Brain, which I guess this wasn't necessarily his idea. It was David Goodman's idea.
Gotcha.
David
Okay.
Goodman is the one who conceived the Man with the Extreme Brain.
Okay.
I don't really know how it was conceived to him. See, in an interview I watched, it just has like someone gave him told him that he should do this idea of Man with the Extreme Brain, and
It was
him and Bruce formed the story from that.
it was
Ah,
conceived
okay.
like a lot of mistakes. without much forethought, a lot of alcohol, and with a lot of regret later.
And it lasted for about 18
years. There you go.
Yeah, it did.
Yes, it did.
So, a question I want to pose,
Oh.
we're talking about the quality of Campbell here, is would you have enjoyed seeing the movie if it had been a lot truer to the vision we get to see in the comic? If they'd been able to pull off that gothic, Eastern European, dreary,
More Frankenstein-esque,
horror-esque,
steampunky.
Yes.
I would say yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
1,000 times yes.
Yep.
1,000 times yes. If you'd have been able to even do, if you'd have been able to pull this off, it would have been almost an enjoyable film.
I think so. Because the comic was definitely enjoyable. Like I even felt like one of the big things we kind of glossed over, one of the big visual differences.
Yes.
The robot.
Yeah. So the wife, right? The wife.
Yeah, the wife robot.
Yep.
In the comics, she is like this 1950s
Oh yeah.
android bionic woman thing with coils and all this stuff and silver body and
Yeah.
looks like something on the Jetsons.
Yeah. She's something off the Jetsons, kind of
But in
reminiscent
the
of like.
movie, it's just some random ass person with a really bad rubber mask and rubber gloves on inside of a body in a jumpsuit.
Yeah. It looks like a sex doll.
Yeah, it looks awful.
Almost. Or a traffic
I
doll.
would not have sex with that
Right.
goddamn thing.
But it's also there we go.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
It also it reminds me of like have you heard of the band Steam Powered Giraffe? They're pretty neat.
Yes.
And so they have like a comic book on their website with kind of, again, very steampunky, like this kind of, honestly, a little bit in the style of this kind of artwork, especially when you get to the robot. You know what I mean? But it's also kind of like the, I'm trying to think of another good example of what this reminds me of. The Tin Man from the original storybook, like the way that they would draw the characters and stuff like that. So I thought that was cool. I liked that a lot better than Jumpsuit and Mask Lady. Or whatever the hell that
Fucking
was.
horrifying is what it was.
Yeah, they couldn't
we,
even.
a lot better
it.
in the comic. They were able to pull off a much better vision of what that looks like.
Yep. And I liked, too, that the climax of the comic book took place in more of like a boiler room or basement or sewer instead of like, they were just, at the end of the movie, it was just like this ditch.
It was like a sewer drain.
Yeah, it was just like a sewer drain or sewer. Yeah. But like the whole climax is in like this dark stone sewer scape and stuff like that. It just looked a lot better than like, we're kind of in the woods. We're down a slope in the woods.
Yeah.
It was just like a ditch with some trees above the drop off around it. Just all fit the aesthetic.
I felt a lot more emotion at the end of the comic because it just everything looked so much better. Like I actually felt like the emotion of like her dying. The way they did it in the comic. Her vision. Blinking out and stuff.
Yeah, they definitely brought home the story of the wife being more enraged at the death of her husband a lot better, and then the gravity of her death.
Yes.
To him was a lot better in the comics. Like I actually gave a shit.
Yeah. Came across better just reading it.
The quality of Campbell.
Yep. Here we go.
Do we feel like now when we reviewed the movie last year, this got a unanimous across the board not group. So I'm gonna start with Eric.
Okay. Okay. Still considering that this is
as a completely separate entity,
right? Completely separate from the movie, and knowing that like this story. Because this comic book is not based on the original story. This is based off of the screenplay for the movie. So this script is the next iteration in this 18-year process that Bruce has been involved in the whole way. So I'm going to give him a lot of credit for the story, the shaping of this and what it looks like and what the result is in the comic. We already know the problems with the movie and why it didn't come across the way he would have liked. I mean, did we already say like he considers this his director's cut?
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm absolutely going to give this a groovy, knowing how much he had to do with the story and kind of seeing what it could have looked like and could have come across as. So I enjoyed reading it. I would read it again, and it's not a very long read either.
No.
So I'll give it a groovy.
I'm going to kind of share your sentiment, Eric. I mean, knowing what could have been, seeing this vision, I kind of see like what Bruce was like, what they were trying to get here.
Yeah.
I think it would have worked so much. This would have been amazing to see on screen. I mean, it would have been incredible to see this like vision play out on screen as it did on the page of the comic.
Yeah.
And it made the story a lot more enjoyable. I enjoyed the story a lot more. And I feel like I understood a lot more what was going on. Because that's one of the main things with the movie. Is there are certain points when you're like, what the fuck is happening?
Right. Which is strange because most of the plot points are the same that are in this. It hasn't deviated much, but
it's so much more palatable.
And
easier to digest in this comic form because you're not miserable watching the fucking thing.
Right.
That's the main thing.
It goes to show what the difference in an aesthetic can do.
Yeah, because the whole time you're watching the movie, you're in this like beige, mucky nightmare of awfulness.
Yeah.
Trying to understand what the hell this guy's going through. And in this, it's much better to look at. It's much more pleasing to the eye.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ahead and give it a groovy.
All right.
Nice.
That leaves our last, number 3 here. Ben?
What do you think, Ben?
So I'm not going to be as enthusiastic as everybody else.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I just don't really care for the story. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But compared to the movie, I'll give this a groovy. This is the aesthetic makes a lot of the difference. Taking out some of the schlocky stupidness of it helps. Like, honestly, this absurdity of this movie kind of helps with a little bit of a solid edge to it, which they ground down ridiculously in that movie.
Yeah.
With again, just because you can't do what the robot, like what you want it to look like, doesn't mean you have to go with the design you did.
Right.
And so, like, that looks stupid. What I can only assume is Ted Improv was just not needed.
The rapping.
Yeah.
And
I think he had a few kind of almost segue things that he was doing. It's like, you don't need them.
You're right.
You don't need them.
Right.
Yeah. Extra
It reeks of filler.
A lot more palatable too in this thing.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the fact that he was clearly so much younger in the comic than he was supposed to be, or at least portrayed to be in the movie, makes a lot more sense with his character, and it makes him less annoying because you're expecting this older character to know better and to behave better.
Right. So there we have it.
Yeah.
Man Screaming Brain, the comic.
Certified groovy.
Yep. By the skin of the stash, but
polar opposite of what we got with fucking the movie. So,
yeah, we're clearly two minds on this story.
Yeah, we are.
Overall.
It's so divided.
That's fucking terrible.
Well, we've been of one thought process through both of them. We gave it a full not groovy and now a certified groovy on the comic, and it's just a shame. Like I guess I can't call it a shame. I mean, good on Bruce for
got it
this
done.
made.
He got it done.
Like I said, there's a lot better projects out there that still.
Me and Eric have had.
Today.
Me and Eric have had long arguments about whether or not it's actually of benefit to get the thing made no matter what versus
well,
the sunk cost
Bruce
fallacy.
stood on this hill and he chose to die on it and it got made. But,
I mean, it did. It did.
Twice, kind of. I mean, it got made in the comic. Then it got made. In
Only needed none. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. One is good. One is good. One, if you're a Bruce Campbell fan, like, pick it up.
Yeah,
it's good to read while you're on the pooper. You know, like
right.
Yeah, it's a pretty good little read. I enjoyed it.
I'm sure
so there
that
you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Man with the Screaming Brain, the comic, certified groovy.
Yep.
Certified
read
groovy.
it. Don't watch it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The reverse.
Watch it. You know, you might
reverse
enjoy
Michael
it, but-
Crichton.
Yeah, there you go.
Reverse Michael Crichton.
If you're a hardcore enough Bruce fan, you might enjoy it. You know,
A lot of Campbellites do enjoy the movie.
We are in the minority. Like,
We
people
are.
rave on this
Yeah.
movie.
yeah.
I don't get it. I think I do, but I'm going to be nice.
Make sure you guys follow
Ass
us on
kissers.
our Instagram, our YouTube, our Twitter, and our Facebook at Cult Talk Net. We have Cult of Campbell comes out every Monday for now.
Uh-huh.
We'll have an announcement on that later. Cult Talk Weird Shit comes out every other Wednesday for now. And Cult of Lore comes out on YouTube the first and the third Thursday of every month.
Yeah.
Our deep dive YouTube exclusive. And we have a lot more content coming your guys' way this year. This is going to be a big year for the cult. And we're starting off the year very good here on Cult of Campbell because I'm pretty sure at this point it's been unanimous certified groovies
Has it
all
been
year.
all year?
I'm pretty certain.
Across the board?
That doesn't bode well.
Oh,
We have
man.
so either
I don't
this
know.
year is going to be the year of certified groovy, or we have some shit coming our way.
It was
Oh,
such a
gee,
slog
I wonder what
before,
could it be?
Oh,
I
man.
had to answer
We
that,
have
but-
what, Assault on Dome 14? Is that what it is?
That's Song Dome 4 got
Four.
certified groovy.
Yep.
Oh no!
Yep,
So
yep.
what are the ones we have coming up? We have the one that's so bad that they disowned it.
Oh, yeah,
That'll be
we have
good.
that.
Oh,
we
yeah,
have
there we go. That might ruin our streak.
we have Cultober stacked up with Terminal Invasion.
Terminal Invasion, that's the one.
Mind
Yeah, I'm
World,
sure
yeah.
those are going to get groovies. You watch.
We have Time Quest,
Oh my
the
God.
weird JFK time travel movie that I've not to see.
Weird
We have
JFK
Running
time travel movie.
We have coming, which is the one-shot movie. Yeah, we have a lot. We have Michael was presenting a Summer of Sam, which is all of August. We're doing Burnos episodes.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
was like, wait, we're
Sorry.
doing the movie Summer of Sam?
There's a movie called Summer of Sam.
There's a movie called Uncle Sam.
There's a movie called Uncle Sam.
No, there isn't.
Wouldn't you
I dare you both to prove me wrong. I'll fight you to the death if you
Oh,
try.
no, I'm not willing to die on that hill. This is this is not my man with the screaming brain here.
Oh my God, thank
Yeah.
Christ. All right, let's wrap this shit up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, make sure you follow us everything at CultTalkNet, and as always,
Stay groovy.
Hail to the king, baby. That's it? That's the best you got?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.